Hey there, focused learners, and welcome to today's explainer for July 2nd, 2026. Today, we're tackling something that literally affects almost every single aspect of our daily experience. We're talking about the sheer, overwhelming volume of modern life. We spend so much of our time analyzing external data, but right now, we're going to look inward. We're exploring not just physical sound, but that heavy, inescapable weight of modern noise, and most importantly, how we can actually find some real peace within it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever just stopped dead in the middle of your day, looked around at the absolute frenzy of everything happening, and desperately asked yourself, where is the mute button? I mean, between the smart fridge aggressively beeping at you for leaving the door open and the endless, non-stop cascade of group chats, it feels like we're constantly being bombarded from the exact second we wake up to the second we finally close our eyes. We're operating in a world that feels like it has deliberately turned the volume knob all the way up to a 10 and then just completely ripped the knob right off. We're all just running around, trying to navigate this incredibly loud reality, desperately searching for a way to hit pause and silence the chaos.
Look, if you are feeling completely exhausted by all of this, I want to validate that feeling for you right now, because this is our daily reality. We're dealing with intense mental clutter, an absolute barrage of digital chaos, those constant unrelenting notifications constantly pinging in our pockets, the endless trap of doom scrolling, and screaming headlines fiercely fighting for our fractured attention. It's really no wonder you feel totally drained. This is the environment we live in, and honestly, it's practically designed to keep us agitated and distracted. But what if the answer to this incredibly modern problem actually lies in something ancient?
Well, that brings us to Section 1, The Prophet and the Mountain, Ancient Wisdom for Modern Chaos.
To counter our modern narrative of noise, let's look at the ancient story of the prophet Elijah from the Book of Kings. Elijah was a man who was completely overwhelmed. He was physically exhausted, literally running for his life, and he went up to a mountain seeking a sign, or really any answer from the divine. Let's move through this and see how it builds, because his expectations perfectly mirror our own, right? We think if God is going to intervene in a chaotic world, it's going to be this grand, loud gesture. So, step 1, a great and powerful wind tears the mountains apart, but the divine wasn't in the wind. Step 2, a massive earthquake shakes the ground, but the divine wasn't in the earthquake. Step 3, a blazing, roaring fire sweeps through, but the answer wasn't in the fire. All these massive, dramatic, loud things we usually look to for answers yielded total emptiness. Until, finally, step 4.
After the fire came what some translations beautifully describe as a sound of sheer silence. It was only then, in the absolute quiet, that the prophet hid his face and could finally hear what he was listening for. It wasn't in the noise, it wasn't in the drama. The ultimate answer, the true intervention, arrived only when all expectations of volume were completely subverted by total, unadulterated stillness.
Which perfectly tees up our next section, Stillness in the Storm, True Power versus Loud Volume.
And this brilliantly illustrates a concept that forces us to rethink everything we assume about influence and peace. It asks us to look at how we naturally respond when our environment gets chaotic, and it challenges us to adopt a completely different approach. Think about our modern instinct, matching the volume of the world. We think that if we want to change things, if we want to fix our problems, or simply be heard, we got to yell louder than the noise around us. We have to out-hustle the hustle. But the ancient wisdom tells us the exact opposite, finding peace in stillness. True power and true peace aren't actually found in matching the frantic volume of the world. They're found in cultivating an internal quiet.
Because, peace isn't just the absence of trouble. It's the presence of stillness right in the middle of it. Consider another ancient story, Jesus asleep on a boat during a massive, life-threatening storm. The disciples are absolutely panicking, the waves are violently crashing over the sides, and the wind is just howling. He wakes up, but here's the thing. He doesn't scream at the storm. He doesn't try to outshout the thunder. He simply says, "Peace, be still." He spoke from a place of deep, grounded, internal quiet, proving that true authority absolutely doesn't need to raise its voice.
Now, what's really interesting about this is it reveals a very uncomfortable truth about our daily habits. We actually use noise as a shield. Think about it. Our constant desperate need to consume information, to scroll our feeds, to have a podcast or a TV playing in the background at all times, it's often a deliberate strategy to drown out the quiet. Why? Well, because the quiet is kind of intimidating. The quiet forces us to reflect. The quiet strips away the distractions and forces us to actually sit with our thoughts and face ourselves. So, we just keep the noise going to protect ourselves from the silence.
But we can change this, which brings us to our final section, building a sanctuary of silence,
intentional disconnection.
So, the crucial point is, the invitation of today's explainer is to consciously put down that shield. The absolute most vital mental practice we need right now is to actively build a sanctuary of silence into our routines. And hey, it doesn't require a months-long mountain retreat. It might just mean taking 5 minutes in the morning to sit in quiet before you ever even touch your phone. So, how do we actually apply this and start healing our fractured attention? It's a simple 3-step process. Step 1, recognize the noise. Just honestly acknowledge the specific things that are draining your peace and adding to your mental clutter. Step 2, seek the whisper. Don't just wait for silence to happen, because it won't. Actively create intentional pockets of silence in your day. And step 3, trust the quiet. Trust that you do not need to be constantly doing or reacting or consuming in order to be valuable. The whisper is where the healing happens.
I want to leave you with this final, really provocative thought. Will you put down your shield today? I challenge you to fundamentally change your relationship with the volume of modern life. You don't have to shout over the storm. In the week ahead, try to cultivate just a few moments of that sheer, counterintuitive stillness and just see how it transforms your mindset. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this fascinating wisdom. Stay focused, stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.